Hey, how's it going, guys? After my first video that I put up on how I control my Headrush Gigboard with my Morningstar MC8 MIDI controller, I have recently added a looper board and a external aux pedal to the mix. So I figured I would show you guys this whole setup, and then I will also attempt to show you how to program various things inside the Morningstar MIDI editor. So first of all, I just want to show you how I have everything set up right here. So what I have here is the Morningstar MC8. And let me adjust this dimming here. And then I have my homemade aux pedal board. So what this essentially is anyone who's familiar with the Morningstar MC8 knows you can plug aux pedals into the back, which are called Omni ports. And you can basically extend your MIDI controller capability from 6 or 8 switches. If you have the MC6, it's 6 switches. If you have the MC8, it's 8. But I have also gone ahead and added, 8 more. And I think I have room for a 9th, because you can add up to 4. Actually, you could add 4 3-switch pedals, if that makes sense. So you could add an additional 12 switches if you wanted to. But what I've done here is I've got 8, and then I've got my expression pedal hooked up to the 4th Omni port. This is just something that I made. Love The Office, you know, everyone does. So thought it was funny. So I made my own little pedal board out of an old crate amp controller board, and then I bought all these switches and the wiring. And I got the wiring diagram straight out of the Headrush Looperboard manual. It tells you exactly what you need to do, how to wire it up with all the diodes and stuff like that. It's pretty easy. I am not an electronics expert by any means, and I was able to do it in about an hour or so. So what I've done is, this is basically my main selector board, so I don't have to take up spaces in the MC8 to just, you know, select various things. So say I want to change the banks. So I have my banks up here, and if you'll watch, it changes my banks. You go back down, all to 1. So I've set 1 as kind of my main page. I can also change the page on it, so that goes to page 2 for bank 1. Select it again, goes backwards. Program this switch to be a looper board, so it goes straight to my looper board setup. So I have all my 4 channels to record on there, and then I can hit page and go to the second page. I haven't quite finished setting, you know, everything I want in there, but that's kind of the gist of it. So go back here, I hit exit, it goes back to my main page, resets everything. I've also, if I want to control my gig board, I hit gig board, boom, has my gig board settings. So now I can go into the MC8 and go view, change my view, stomp, that kind of stuff. And I can hit exit, and it goes back to page 1. Of course, tuna, big tuna is my tuner. So if I hit that, you can see up here, brings my tuner up. Also brings the tuner up in the MC8 page. And again, I can just hit exit, takes me back out, takes me back to the main page, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of what I have set up. That's my gig board. That's my looper board. I do have the beta 3 on there right now, so I'm testing that. If you haven't got a chance to be part of the beta group, I highly recommend applying. The new beta 3 is going to be super awesome. Still has a few kinks to work out, but so far so good. So now I'm going to switch views and show you guys how to program some of this. All right, guys, to start off, you are going to need a few things to get you set. So you're going to need to go to the morningstarfx.com page, go to support, device editor, and that will bring up this page. You click on access device editor, and that's going to bring up the actual device editor so you can program your MC8. Pretty simple. You're also going to need 2 manuals if you have the looper board and gig board. If you just have the gig board or the pedal board, you'll just need that manual. But you'll need the Headrush Looperboard. You'll go to page 37, and that's going to provide you all your CC codes to program everything into the MIDI controller. You're also going to need the gig board. It's super short and sweet. It's on page 28. It gives you all your CC codes for the gig board. Now, what's important to pay attention to is on the gig board, you're going to have separate CC codes for everything. And you're going to program either 0 or 127, which is on or off, and I'll get into that briefly here in a minute. But for the looper board, everything gets programmed under CC3. So CC code 3, and then your data message, which instead of saying 0 or 127, you're going to program all these numbers in. So it's 0 to 60 for this stuff. On the looper board, you also have variable parameters that you can control with different CC numbers, but I really haven't got too much into that yet. All I've been doing is the standard foot switch actions. So that's all I'm going to be talking about today. So we'll go back into Web Editor and we'll get started here. So make sure you click connect, and that's going to bring up this blue bar here. It tells you you're connected. What's important to remember here is if you are connected, when you change banks on your MC8, and if you try to change a bank, hit a switch and do something, it's not going to show you on the MC8 that it's actually doing it because you're in editing mode. You need to be outside of editing mode to do that, and to do that all you do is click disconnect, and now you can do whatever you want. But once you're in editing mode, now you can change things. So the way I have it set up here is this is bank 1, page 1, so the very beginning. I only have two things in here. I have my gig board and I have my looper board, two switches. So when you hit gig board, this is what comes up. This is what's programmed into this switch. So I gave it the name gig board, and the short name and toggle name, it only gives you so many characters, so sometimes you have to be kind of creative to fit it all in there, but luckily this one allowed me to do everything. So gig board here, and down here is where you set your codes. So I want it to go to bank number 10 when I hit this gig board switch. And the reason I want it to go to bank 10 is because if you look at my bank number 10 here, that is where all my gig board stuff is stored, is in bank 10. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and I'm using my homemade pedal to do all this. But anyway, gig board's in bank 10. So I said when I press this button, it's going to set my bank to bank 10, and then you save. And then that's what it does. For the looper board, you hit looper board, and boom, it goes looper board. It's going to go to bank 7 because that's where I have it at, is bank 7 is all my looper board stuff. And I've also got it set to go into looper mode. What looper mode does is it decreases the amount of time between when you hit your switch and when it actually sends the message out. So when you're looping, you want it to be really just right there when you hit that record button. Otherwise it could be slightly off. So it engages the looper mode, which decreases the amount of time in between signal processing. So I've got that set in there, and I hit save, and now it takes me to the looper. So I'm going to turn this off, and now I go into looper mode, looper board, engaging looper mode. You saw that flash, and boom, it goes to bank 7, just like I had it programmed, and that's all my bank stuff, or all my looper board stuff. I can hit my page button here, and that's my second page that I have programmed so far. So really quickly, I want to show you guys how to add something that is not already in the MC8. So you see on my looper on my second page, I have 3 blank spaces here that don't have anything in it. So I'm going to show you how to put whatever you want in there. So right now I have the 4 different channels, 1, 2, 3, 4 of fade. You can fade each track of the looper board if you hit that switch. And that also have an all fade. But let's say I wanted to add, I don't know, an all stop into this switch right here. When I hit this, I want all the tracks to stop. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to pan up with the camera here instead of switching back and forth. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to my guide, and I'm going to find what code will tell me for all tracks stop. So looks like start stop all would do what I want. So that's going to be data message 0, and remember this is all CC3. So to do that, what we're going to do is go back to the editor, and now what we do is when we select this blank switch, so let me select one that already has it. So I'm going to select the fade. So you see how it brings up the fade. Now I'm going to select the switch that we want to program. Okay, it's blank, right? So we want it to do a start stop all thing. So you'll give it a name. So we'll say start stop. And we'll do the same thing here. And now we got to tell it what to do. We got a name for it, but what's it going to do? So we go to action. When we press it, we want it to send a control change. The CC number is 3 because all Looperboard stuff is 3 for the foot switches. And then that CC value is 0 we got from the manual. If you remember, we go back up to this manual. So start stop all is 0. So that's what we want. So 3, 0, we're going to leave it 0. If it was a different number, we would put whatever value that the manual tells us in there, and then we hit Save Preset. And now, if you go down here, you can see now it says Start Stop. That's what we gave the name of it, or that's what we named it. So now it's there. And when we hit Start Stop All, it's going to start stop all our tracks in the Looperboard. So it's fairly simple. Something else I will show you is, let me hit home. All right, so now I'm going to go to Gigboard because this is the kind of the one that's most confusing. Okay, so I have all my switches here programmed just like the Gigboard. Your view, hands-free, Gigboard looper, and tuner. Just like you have set up on the Gigboard itself. Foot switch 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I'm going to go back to here. Now I'm engaged, it's blue bar. Now it's going to tell me what I've got programmed. So I'm going to go into view. All right, so now my Gigboard went into view mode. So I want it to pop up view. Now I've got it programmed to press. When I press it, it's going to send a CC, control change. It's going to be CC number 50 with a value of 127 on MIDI channel 1. I keep the same MIDI channel for everything. Some people use different ones. I don't. So CC number 50, CC 127. So where did I get that? So we're going to go to the Gigboard user guide. Remember 50 and 127. There's our CC code 50, and 127 means on. So it's going to send the full signal. 127 is telling it to go on. Okay, 50, 127. I've also got it press. When I press it at the same time, because this can send tons of different messages, at the same time it's going to set my bank on my MC8 to go to bank number 2 because that's where I have all my Gigboard stuff set. So I'm going to disconnect that so you can see it. So I'm going to go to Gigboard. Bank number 10, and then I'm going to hit view. Boom, see that? Bank 2, that's my view mode. Now I've got it to set up exactly like the Gigboard would have you set it up. Stomp, rig, high bridge, set list. So I'm going to go to stomp, and now I'm in stomp mode in my Gigboard. Super simple. Let's see if I can find you one that is slightly more complicated. Okay, so I found one a little more complicated here. What we're going to do is I'm disconnected from the editor right now. I want to hit Gigboard. I'm going to hit Gig Looper, which is the looper on the Gigboard, not the Looperboard, but the Gigboard looper. It's going to bring up the second page of bank 10, and you can see that it's Gigboard looper, and then my looper is on my Gigboard. So now what I'm going to do is connect on the editor. So now I can see what all I have programmed in here. So if I hit record, you see I have, when I press it, it's going to send a control change of 70 and 127. Remember that 127 is on. CC number of 70 because I want it to record 70 in the manual. But I also have to tell it to stop, because if you don't, what you'll get is just this constant, the Gigboard thinks that you're sending a constant message to it like you're holding the switch down. So it won't work how you want it. You have to tell it to turn it off at the same time as you tell it to turn it on. I know it sounds weird, but that's why I have it in here twice. So when you press it, it's going to send the on message for 70, and it's also right after that, split second afterwards, it's going to tell it to turn it off. That way your switch does exactly what you want it to do. It's not holding down, or it's not acting as if you were holding the switch down. It's acting if you're just touching it, and then it's recording, and that's what you want it to do. So same thing goes with peel and clear. I have my peel and clear in there. So it's turning it, saying to peel it with the 127 and 0 at the same time. And then I changed it so if it gives you the option to do all these different kinds of things. So if I long press it, so if I hold that switch down, it's going to send the code of 52 and 127. So 52 is my foot switch 3, and I'm going to let it go to 127 because I want it to think that I'm holding it down, so it's going to clear everything out. Does that make sense? So you touch it once, it just peels it, you hold it down, and it's going to clear out everything that you've put in there. Exit. Exit is going to, it wants you, or I've got it programmed to basically take the foot switch number 4 CC code, so 53 and 53, it's turning on, turning it off, because you want that, you know, you want it to think that the switch is just touching, not holding. And then I'm going to have it toggle the page back to my Gigboard bank on the MC8. So I know that's kind of down and dirty of how everything works. I hope that it helps more than it actually confuses most. It took me a while to figure it out, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Just post them down below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. But I hope that helps everybody out. Let me know what you think.